And finally, I think the final characteristic would be to have a proactive and positive attitude. Times are tough everywhere in higher education. I can't have people working for me who are hanging their head and saying, oh no. We have to have people that understand we're all in it together, and if we stay in it together, that we'll weather any storm, and that they have to keep a positive attitude. And it actually permeates through the university. If the administration is not positive, then the rest of the university won't be. Relative to evaluating them, I'm a firm believer of giving people expectations at the beginning of the year, performance expectations. Sometimes there's numbers involved, sometimes there's percentages, sometimes there's direction of improvement, and have them agree on that, and then evaluate them annually on meeting the expectations.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mr. Kudrain.
Hey, Dr. Fos. Hi, Ms. Fos. Nice to see you all again.
Good to see you.
You're back in the Louisiana higher education arena, so
Yes.
you know that Louisiana has a very performance-driven environment in higher education with emphasis on improving student retention and graduation rates. So how would you engage the UNO campus to focus on improving student retention and graduation rates?
Well, personally, I think retention is a multifaceted issue. It's not just classroom academics. Retention also involves student life, student support activities, student counseling. So what UNO would have to do, and if you read the institutional review report, it doesn't sound like they do it fully or as expected, is that they'd have to have a very aggressive retention program in which students could feel as if they are welcome on campus. Students will feel as if they're embraced. Students will feel that the university cares for them. That would be programs involving meeting students' needs, understanding if they think the recreation center should be open longer, understanding whether they like the food in the cafeteria, which the institutional review report says they don't. I just left the students. I'm a little biased. I just left the students. Understanding that it's not okay if Patriot Village doesn't feel safe at night. But you have to be attentive to the students. They have to be priority on campus, because guess what? They stop coming. None of us are sitting in this room. That they have to feel that though, and also we had it came up in the meeting today. We had the same issue at UT Tyler. To get registered at UT Tyler and get financial aid posted in your account, it was easier to go to the moon than to have that done at UT Tyler. And UT Tyler had an issue that if you owed money, they'd drop you from your classes and let you know 3 days later, and then when you go try to get back in the classes, they were closed. We once had a student drop because she owed $10. She'd paid $28,000. She didn't know she owed $10,000. They posted on their website who owed money. The young lady didn't know you should look there, and they dropped all her classes and put her out of school. So what we did was we decided enough of that. Enough of that. So what we did is that, believe it or not, we hired people from Disney to come and do some customer service workshops. That's the truth. I have people giggling. We're all in one building, but if you went to financial aid and had a problem, you had to go down the hall, some other building, get another line to the registrar. Then you had to go downstairs to the cashier if they had a problem, and then you come all the way back. Yeah. So what we did, we gutted part of the building, and it looks like you're going into a bank. There's about 7 teller-type stations, and behind there's a wall of computers that you can do things electronically. When you go there, you never leave that spot. We instituted it last fall while I was still there. If you needed a financial aid problem, that person was cross-trained to try to handle it. If anything she couldn't handle, she would call somebody from financial aid who would come to the window and solve it. If you had a cashier's problem, like you didn't have your receipt or you owed $10, the person took care of it 90% of the time. If she couldn't take care of it, she called somebody, the cashier that came from downstairs, and took care of it. So students now at UT Tyler don't have those issues. You know, I was told one of the students, I said, you go to register and they say you owe money because your scholarship's there, financial aid is there, but they didn't have time to post it yet. All right? That stuff doesn't happen at UT Tyler anymore. So those sorts of things, the day-to-day operational things that are nuisances to students, if you eliminate those, retention will go up. Students know that you care about them and that you're happy that they're here. So that'll be some of the things that we'd have to do here. Thank you.
Our next question is from one of our student members, John Lombardo.
Dr. Fos, distance learning is one approach to reaching new markets and providing existing students with alternatives to completing studies in a timely fashion. What has been your experience in this area, and what is your vision for distance learning here at UNO?
Well, fortunately, I'm very experienced in this area, and I don't know where to start, but distance education is the answer to degree completion. Okay, it might not be the answer, it's one of the major answers. Also, is a flexibility of scheduling. I was fortunate enough that I was a traditional student at UNO. I came out of high school, got a part-time job, came to UNO and graduated. My wife came back to school after 13 years after having 2 children and was working. It wasn't easy for her to schedule her classes. So I sort of have experience. So if you could go to use distance education, it actually opens up greater flexibility, not only to graduate more people, but to have them graduate on time. So, again, I'm very biased. At University of Southern Mississippi, I had several, as I said, online programs. A Master's of Science program in nursing that was totally online. In my college, I had actually a distance education administrative assistant. And interesting enough, at Southern Miss, the majority of students who took online courses were full-time students on campus. When I first heard that, it surprised me, because students are used to this electronic age. It wasn't just the people who lived in rural Mississippi. So very familiar. At UT Tyler, as I said earlier when I answered Mr. Long's question, they have a PhD program in online nursing. And we're training people to be nursing researchers. And it works. Those people ordinarily wouldn't go. And I mentioned the health and kinesiology summer school, every course offered, undergraduate and graduate, online, totally online. And students typically in the summer had to leave Tyler, work, come back to school. Well, they didn't have to do that. They could actually take a full load and work, go home and work if they wanted to. So it's very valuable. And I'm not quite sure what goes on here. I read an institution report. There isn't any fully online programs now, but if you have something to look at. I just remembered we had an online MBA program at UNO as well. So distance education is actually the thing we have to do. We did one other thing, and this was, I don't know if it was innovative. We had a wonderful educational leadership program at UT Tyler. People could either get certificates to be principals or superintendents or get a master's degree in educational leadership. Another university, not in the UT system, contracted with a private agency that the private agency would teach the program, and you'd get things on a compressed CD, all the courses, and a university faculty member would grade papers and charge $4,000 for a master's degree total. $4,000 total. Well, we couldn't compete. Tuition wasn't very high, but we couldn't sell you a master's degree for $4,000. So what we decided to do is use our excellence and quality that we knew about it, and we had a blended program. What we did was students would come once a week. They'd come 1 week in the beginning of the semester and 1 week at the end of the semester, and the rest of the program was online. The numbers shot back up. And because these people really couldn't come to school every weekend. And we learned that when people went to this other program. And we did very innovative things, like the second week we would maybe have class in Dallas, Texas, which is more than far away. Or we'd have the last week in Houston, just because where the students were. So, but it's just examples that distance education is very viable, very valuable for degree completion.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Our next question is from Mr. Solomon. Gary?
Peter, as you know, the president's role is raising money. I'd like to hear, or we would like to hear your experience, your plans, what vision you have for helping us raise money here at the university.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying this. Universities only have several sources of revenue. State appropriations, which are continually going down, and national trends say it will continue to go down. Tuition and fees, which you get to a tipping point, you raise them too high, students will stop coming. Research dollars, technology transfer, and philanthropy. And philanthropy is probably the one that we can control the most because it's up to us to do it. So I think it's a very important role for the president to go out and make relationships. I was reading just a few months ago that, and I didn't know this at the time, people who give major gifts, the big $1 million gifts, $500,000 gifts, et cetera, are those people who for 10 or 15 years have given the university $200 every year when you send out the annual campaign. When you get the envelope, you decide, well, how much should I give? That's the people who typically give the major gifts. And also learned from my experience that people don't give money to institutions, they give money to other people. So relationships are very, very important. So let me tell you a little bit about my experience. When I was a dean at the University of Southern Mississippi, I had actually a quota, I guess, or a goal. I had to raise $2 million a year from fundraising for philanthropy from my college. I had help, though. The foundation had a development office in my dean's office, and I probably spent a day a week fundraising. I probably went a day a week going with the person doing the closing, telling them things. And my job was to tell them what Southern Miss was doing, my college, and tell them what needs we had. So I met my goal every year too, by the way. That's why they kept me as dean. When I arrived at UT Tyler, Tyler is a very wealthy city, but you don't know about it. People in Dallas show their wealth. People in Tyler are kind of quiet about it, not as showy. So they had a lot of wealthy people in Tyler. So while I was there, we started a Inspiring Excellence campaign was the name of it. And other than a small portion, it really wasn't bricks and mortars. It was to endow an honors program. It was to endow faculty professorships and endowed chairs. It was to actually set up an endowment for students to travel internationally in the summer to do programs. It was to build a performing arts recital hall for an orchestra. And it was to do a reading program for reading recovery. I was intimately involved. I helped set the amounts of money that were needed. And I actually was fortunate enough, my president brought me on to final asks. I was involved in asking for $2 million for an endowed chair. And I actually had to do most of the talking because I knew all the content that was specific to it. And they said no, but they gave us $1 million. And then I had the opportunity to talk to a foundation director who I'm not, Mr. Solomon, I think we got the money, they got the money, but I left before. We asked for $4 million to build an alumni center and a center for teaching excellence. And the foundation director said, I really think the family would go for this. And actually they met, I think they met first week in November. I don't know if they gave it the money. So I've had the opportunity to do sort of the lower level fundraising as a dean, but I've also been involved in large campaigns.
Our next question is from Mr. O'Quinn.
Thank you, Dr. Marcus. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. O'Quinn.
How are y'all?
Good, wonderful. Thank you, sir.
You sort of touched upon my question a little bit, but maybe you can use this as an opportunity to summarize. But over the last 2 years, our universities have received less state appropriations,
Right.
which you're well aware of.
Right.
And as a result, our universities have relied more and more upon increasing student tuitions and student fees. Okay? And that sort of presents a problem for UNO because it has not yet reached its peak in enrollment. So what would be your enrollment management strategy to ensure the university budget remains stable?
Right. That's a problem that's not going to go away, I'm afraid. what's happening, I think, in state legislatures is that they're going to continue to decrease the state appropriations.